Clark and Sophie Cunningham. The question we have this morning, did these two ladies go rogue on that final play? Was this play actually drawn up for Kelsey Mitchell and Sophie Cunningham said, I think I'll make a different decision with the basketball? Was this play drawn up to get Kelsey Mitchell the game-winning shot so Stephanie White can...
The basketball leaves Sophie Cunningham's hands with just 2.4 seconds left on the clock. The game is tied. The entire season feels like it is sitting on this single possession. But here is what nobody in that arena fully understood in the moment. The play drawn up on that clipboard was never designed to end this way. The ball was never supposed to find Clark. Someone else was meant to take that final shot. What you are about to see is not a coaching masterpiece. It is not a perfectly executed late-game design. What you are about to witness is two players who looked at the clipboard, looked at the floor, and made a split-second decision to throw the whole script out entirely. And the most shocking part, it worked. But what happened after the buzzer might be even more revealing than the shot itself. Let's get into it.
Knew who should take the final shot, but the coaching staff apparently had a very different plan.
Kelly is the one that drew up the play. Austin Kelly is the one that's been drawing up all of these out-of-bounds plays after timeouts. The one that got Clark the game-tying three against the Mystics, he drew that up. The Aaliyah Boston wide-open midi that she bricked, he drew that up. This play right here, he drew it up. Fortunately for us, his play design pretty good. So if the first option's not there and the second option's not there...
Before we break down what actually happened on that final possession, you need to understand who was holding the marker on that whiteboard during the timeout. Assistant coach Austin Kelly is the primary architect of Indiana's late-game inbound plays. This is not speculation. It has been confirmed publicly by the coaching staff themselves. Every intricate out-of-bounds set you have seen the fever run in clutch situations. This season has Kelly's fingerprints all over it. His track record coming into this moment was genuinely impressive. Earlier this season, he designed a brilliant late-game inbound set that sprung Clark for a game-tying three against Washington. The play featured precise spacing, a flare screen to manipulate the defense, and a clever use of the inbounder as a legitimate offensive threat. The Mystics never saw it coming. Kelly knows how to engineer confusion. He layers misdirection on top of misdirection until a defense simply cannot trust its own assignments. That reputation is exactly why the Fever handed him the clipboard in this exact huddle with everything on the line. But designing a perfect play in a timeout and executing it against a live switching defense are two completely different problems. The pressure changes everything. Here is the context that makes the final play so much more loaded than it appears on the surface. Earlier in this very game, with the Fever's lead beginning to evaporate, Clark was standing near the scorer's table ready to check back in. She wanted to be on the floor. She wanted to stop the bleeding. That much was obvious from her body language alone. Watch Stephanie White's reaction. The head coach looks directly at her franchise player and tells her to sit back down. Clark's response says everything. Her shoulders drop. She turns away from the bench and walks in the opposite direction.
Final play, folks. We got the inbound from Sophie to Clark. Now, many people are thinking this is supposed to be right here. Give it to Kelsey Mitchell right here. She's gonna get it going downhill. Tries to get a nice pull-up midi. We're taking it.
The look on her face is not frustration. It is something quieter and more dangerous than that. It looks like a player who has just been told that her instincts do not matter right now. When you bench your most dynamic offensive weapon during a collapsing lead, you do not just make a tactical decision. You light a fuse. The players who stay on the floor feel the weight of that choice. The player who got benched carries it back onto the court when she finally checks in. That energy does not disappear. It finds an outlet. Now we get to the final possession itself. Watch the alignment as Sophie Cunningham steps out of bounds to trigger the play. Every single piece of the initial formation points toward one conclusion. Kelsey Mitchell is the primary option on this play. She begins her cut, angling hard toward the perimeter with real purpose and momentum behind her movement. Aaliyah Boston is positioned precisely to deliver the screen that will free Mitchell from her defender. The spacing on the floor is clean, the angles make sense. If you are reading this possession from the sideline or from the stands, you are watching a play designed to get Mitchell the ball going downhill, giving her the choice between a pull-up jumper or an aggressive drive to the rim. Every player on the floor is moving with that assumption baked in. The defense is reacting to it. The crowd is anticipating it. The coaching staff on the sideline is watching for it. And then something breaks. Not on the offensive side of the ball, but on the defensive side. Two defenders lose track of their assignments. Both of them bite on the same decoy action at the exact same moment. The gap opens up. Here is where Sophie Cunningham earns every bit of credit for what happened next. Both defenders abandon their coverage responsibilities and follow Lexi Hull on the decoy cut. The switch they were supposed to execute never happens. A massive open window appears on the perimeter, and it appears fast.
First option is when Lexi Hull comes on the radio and says, the last play was not exactly what was drawn up. If that wasn't exactly what was drawn up, then what was the initial play design? What was the first op? It had to be Kelsey Mitchell, if that was, right? If getting Caitlin Clark a wide open three isn't exactly what was drawn up.
Blink and you miss it entirely. Cunningham sees it immediately. She is standing out of bounds, holding a live basketball with less than 3 seconds on the clock, and she makes one of the fastest and most consequential reads you will see in a late-game situation at any level. She does not hesitate. She does not look back at the bench. She does not try to force the ball to Mitchell through a collapsing lane. She snaps a laser pass over the top of the scrambling defense and puts the ball exactly where the defense is not. Caitlin Clark catches it in perfect rhythm. Her footwork is immediate and flawless. She squares her shoulders. The release is clean and fast. The rotation on the ball is textbook. It climbs over the outstretched arms of two recovering defenders and drops straight through the net. Buzzer, game over. Indiana survives. Now here is where the story shifts from exciting to genuinely fascinating. After the game, Lexi Hull sits down for a radio interview and says something that reframes the entire final sequence. She states plainly that the last play did not go exactly as it was drawn up. Read that slowly. If getting Caitlin Clark a wide-open three-pointer on the perimeter was not the intended design of the play, and Hull is saying directly that it was not, then the only logical destination for that basketball was Kelsey Mitchell. The play was built for Mitchell. The clipboard said Mitchell. The formation pointed to Mitchell. Cunningham read the defense, identified the breakdown, and chose Clark instead. That was not a coaching decision. That was two players operating entirely on their own basketball intelligence with the game on the line. They recognized a broken defensive assignment faster than anyone on either bench could process what was happening, and they acted on it without hesitation.
Out of the huddle. Say, that's what we got to do.
Steph, was that the play you drew up, or how much confidence do you have in Caitlin for that shot?
Well, Austin drew up the play. I mean, Austin does a lot of our end-of-game stuff, and
at this point, he should just coach, Stephanie. Please, can you take another leave of absence, please? At this point, Austin Kelly should just coach. He looks more of the part than you. I don't see him slugging around. I don't see him tweaking. I don't see him arms crossed. He actually carries himself like a leader. You carry yourself like...
That kind of improvisation is either the sign of an elite basketball mind or the sign of a roster that has quietly stopped fully trusting the system it has been given. Given everything else that happened that night, it might be both. The shot goes in. The buzzer sounds. And for a brief moment, chaos takes over the arena. But if you slow everything down and watch the post-game reaction carefully, you will notice a pattern in the way Caitlin Clark moves through that moment, and it tells a story that the highlight reel alone cannot capture. Clark hits the "you cannot see me" gesture toward the opposing bench. She exchanges an aggressive, fired-up dap with several of her teammates. The energy coming off her is enormous. She knows exactly what she just did, and she is not hiding it for a second. But watch who she walks past. Stephanie White is right there on the sideline. Clark moves directly past her head coach without a single glance. No eye contact, no acknowledgement, not even a brief nod in her direction. She walks straight past her as if the moment belongs entirely to the players who were on the floor. Then watch who she locks eyes with: Sophie Cunningham. And the smile they share in that moment is not the smile of two players celebrating a designed play that worked perfectly. That smile looks exactly like the smirk of two people who just went completely off script and got away with it. The fallout carries straight into the post-game press conference, and things get noticeably uncomfortable very quickly. Stephanie White sits at the podium, and when she is asked directly about the final play, she deflects almost immediately. She credits Austin Kelly for drawing up the end-of-game situation, stepping back from the moment as if to distance herself from the outcome rather than own it. She attempts to frame what happened as aligned with their preparation. She tries to present the improvisation as execution. But sitting right next to her, Lexi Hull's expression during that press conference is difficult to ignore. The body language in that room tells a different story than the words coming out of the microphone. The visual evidence, Hull's radio comments, and Clark's postgame behavior all point in the same direction. The players on the floor saved this game in spite of the system, not because of it. And when your franchise player is making better decisions than your coaching staff in real time, that is not a one-night story. That is a structural conversation this front office cannot keep avoiding. Who is actually running this team when it matters most? That question is not going away anytime soon. Here is what we know for certain. The play was drawn up for Kelsey Mitchell. Sophie Cunningham read the floor and threw the script away. Caitlin Clark caught the pass, squared up, and delivered the shot. Indiana won a game they had no business winning after squandering a 17-point lead. But the real story is not the basketball that went through the net. The real story is what happened on the sideline before the play, what happened on the floor during it, and what the body language after it revealed about the relationship between this roster and its coaching staff. The Fever survived tonight because two players trusted their instincts over the clipboard. The question now is whether a team built on improvisation can actually build something that lasts. Drop your thoughts in the comments. We read every single one.
Stay locked with my channel, Simply Explained, for further WNBA updates.